Some people do not deserve to be parents. In this video, we explore some of the most evil parents who divide the very essence of parenthood by killing their own children. But how do they react when they realize they will spend the rest of their lives in prison for their crimes? Let's find out. For a start is the case that was an online sensation involving Kristel Candelario, the mother who went on vacation for 10 days, leaving her 16-month-old baby at home unattended and without food and water. Kristel was charged with aggravated murder and child endangerment and is now about to be sentenced in Cleveland's Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court. The 32-year-old mother lived in a peaceful Cleveland area, close to Lorraine Avenue and West 97th Street. On June 6, 2023, she decided to go on holiday without leaving her daughter in any care, a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Kristel packed her belongings for her trip to Puerto Rico, leaving her 16-month-old daughter, Jaylyn, unsupervised in a playpen. When Kristel eventually got home on June 16, 2023, 10 days later, she discovered Jaylyn lying unresponsive in the pen. Kristel called 911 in a panic, pleading for help for her unconscious daughter. Following an alarm to the authorities, the Cleveland police and fire departments hurried to the area. However, it was too late. Jaylyn was already dead. Her body was found in the pen with blankets soaked in urine and a feces-stained liner all around. Investigations revealed that Kristel Candelario had voluntarily left her child in a state of high vulnerability and neglect. The evidence presented a horrifying picture of the circumstances this helpless child had been forced to live in without anyone to care for her. Standing in front of Judge Brendan Sheen on February 22, 2024, Kristel Candelario was about to face the consequences of her actions. Tensions were high in the courtroom as her case progressed. The prosecution made a strong case for the seriousness of the mother's acts and the terrible effects they had on her daughter. Pictures of Kristel laughing and having fun in Puerto Rico were shown to the court, providing a sharp contrast to the pain Jaylyn was going through while Kristel was gone. Judge Brendan Shea gave a sharp indictment, calling Kristel Candelario's actions the ultimate act of betrayal.
Committed the ultimate act of betrayal. I'm going to sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
With a gloomy expression on her face, Kristel Candelario was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. While Kristel's actions are outright evil, they are only a peep into the dark world that is wicked parents. Our next stop is the Hennepin County Court in Minnesota, where Julissa Thaler is set to get sentenced for a crime that shocked the whole country.
I'm innocent. Y'all, you're garbage. That's all you're on.
Julissa Thaler was found guilty of the murder of Eli Hart, her 6-year-old son. On May 20th, 2022, in Orono, Minnesota, a caller reported seeing a suspicious car, which led to the discovery of Thaler's horrific deed. The vehicle in question was reportedly driving about town with a blown-out tire and a damaged rear window. Following the report, Thaler was pulled over by Orono police, who saw her car driving on the rim with a broken window. After removing Thaler's car for examination, the officers took her home without noticing the deceased body hidden within a hand's reach. It wasn't until later that day that the unbelievable reality came to light during a routine car inspection. Inside the trunk lay the lifeless body of Eli Hart. Julissa Thaler was swiftly taken into custody by authorities and charged with the murder of her own child. There was a ton of evidence against her. It was discovered that Eli had been shot up to 9 times with a shotgun in a horrifying and incomprehensible act of brutality. Prior to this sad tragedy, Julissa Thaler, who was revealed to be a disturbed woman with a history of drug addiction and mental health concerns, had been involved in a contentious custody dispute with Eli's father, Torrey Hart. Months before Eli passed away, the court had given Thaler complete custody despite Eli's repeated cries for help and family members' concerns about the child's safety. Julissa Thaler, Eli's murderer, sat silently throughout the entire process as if oblivious of the suffering and destruction she had brought about. When granted the chance to address the court, Taylor's remarks were startling and full of defiance.
Ms. Thaler, you have a right to speak this morning if you'd like. You don't have any obligation to speak, but if you'd like to choose to speak, now is the time to do it.
Yes, I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
I'm innocent. You all, you're garbage.
Judge Quam sentenced Thaler to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
And I do would bring justice to this situation. Nothing I do would relieve any of the pain that you caused by doing that, but what is, according to law, the just and fair sentence for what you did is what Mr. Aller said, and that is life in prison without the possibility of parole.
A collective sigh of relief was heard in the courtroom as justice was finally served. Though she would carry the shame of killing her defenseless son for the rest of her life, Thaler's reaction caught on camera showed absolutely no remorse. On June 15, 2023, Chad Doerman committed a crime that shook his community to the core.
One of the most monstrous, craven, cowardly acts that will ever be our misfortunes.
Chad returned home early on that fateful day. Armed with a gun, he gathered his wife and 3 sons in the main bedroom where he shot his 3 boys to death. His stepdaughter barely made it out of the situation. Soon after, Chad was taken into custody.
Air going to go ahead and fly whenever any unit's going to die.
Get your hands out of here.
Over 72.
Tell me 21. It's in the air.
Those guys can confirm that there's people that...
No, I ain't got nothing, man. Phone, that's it. I ain't mad, I ain't nothing.
Without hesitation, he admitted the horror and expressed no regret. It was eventually discovered by investigators that he had been preparing this heinous deed since October of 2022.
And they trust more than any other person on earth, the person they rely upon to keep them safe from harm. He was their world, he was their guardian, and he executed them in cold blood. We know that from his admission.
Now in court, Chad's remorseless spirit can't stand the prosecutor's words. In a hearing that occurred on Friday the 3rd of May 2024, the defense team for the killer of 3 filed a motion with the court to set aside the death penalty for the defendant, along with the killer's plea of not guilty by reason of mental illness. This motion by the defense was supported by 2 expert opinions that confirmed that Chad Doerman was suffering from a severe mental illness the day he killed his sons, 7-year-old son Clayton, 4-year-old Hunter, and 3-year-old Chase. During that hearing, Chad had also waived his right to a speedy trial, prompting the judge to cancel his upcoming July trial. A death penalty eligibility date was set for August 5th.
Half of the prosecutors. With that said, we've also discussed that this is, while the statute labels this as a pretrial hearing, it's really a much more complex and detailed hearing. And as I call it, it's not a pretrial hearing, it's a pretrial trial, simply limited to whether the death penalty can be eliminated or can be maintained based upon the statutory conditions there. And it's my understanding that the parties should be able to go forward with that hearing on August the 5th. And that's the date we've selected. Correct, Mr. Myers, you're in agreement with that August 5th?
We are. That's an agreement.
And I know on behalf of the state, August 5th.
Ellis was charged with first-degree child abuse and criminal murder for killing Giovanni Mejias.
You had put cigarettes out on this poor little child. There was evidence of that from the pictures.
The 4-year-old son of his former fiancée in Michigan. Elis Nieves had been left in charge of several children under the age of 11 when Giovanni died. Upon arrival at the scene, a trailer in Gaines Township in Kent County, deputies found the boy's lifeless body on the kitchen floor. After an autopsy, it was discovered that Giovanni had suffered internal bleeding from an abdominal tear. According to the autopsy report, the cause injury could only have been inflicted by an adult, not a child.
They're alleging you murdered one Giovanni Mejias.
In court, Nieves denied any wrongdoing. However, the prosecutors had their own opinion, and the medical examiner confirmed that the injuries were not accidental.
The degree and the location and the number of injuries was remarkable. In my opinion, this injury is inflicted with blunt force from an adult individual.
In disagreement, the defense contended that it was possible that the injuries had been caused by other children. The child's mother supported Nieves.
Sock him, push him. He was just mean to him.
Did you ever witness Nelson physically discipline kids?
Never.
Now it was Nieves' turn to plead his case.
I'm going to continue to say I will take a lie detector test to prove that I never abused any of Sonia's kids or never abused Giovanni and never intentionally meant to hurt Giovanni but to help him.
But after Nieves was found guilty, the victim's mother appeared to switch sides.
To my baby,
will never bring him back. I'll never see him grow up, fall in love with his school.
In the end, Judge Mark Trusso strongly condemned Nieves' actions.
You can claim your innocence, but I sat over this trial and I carefully listened to all the testimony, and the jury verdict was clearly correct in this matter. There is no question whatsoever that you committed this murder and that you beat this little boy to death. You had put cigarettes out on this poor little child. There was evidence of that from the pictures.
So far, this case had been smooth, but at this point, things got out of hand.
I ain't gonna let you sit here say no crazy shit about me, man. No, man, because he don't even know, man.
Sir, the testimony showed that you put this child and other child in a shower with ice cold water. Anybody says anything back there, arrest them.
Stop it! Stop it,
He was eventually brought in, and Judge Mark sentenced him to life in prison, as well as an extra 80 to 150 years for first-degree child abuse.
Lowest form of human life that I've been able to observe or see. You are a monster, and quite frankly, you are evil. What you did was sickening and disgusting. We're done.
That wasn't the end, though. The mother of the victim reappeared in court after 6 months.
My first charge is perjury. I lied under oath for a man who I thought loved and cared for me. Failure to protect my children and blaming a sibling on a sibling. And I have to live with the fact that I failed my children. Your Honor, what you decide to give me is nothing compared to what I have been through.
She was sentenced 5 to 10 years in prison. Chris McNabb was in court for the murder of his 2-week-old daughter, Kalia, in 2017. The infant vanished from her cot when Chris and his girlfriend, Courtney Bell, were asleep.
My daughter's not in her sleeper. Her pad is on the floor. She's not in her sleeper. She's not here. I've looked everywhere. Then I told my baby's dad to go check on Kalia, and then he's talking about she's not in here. She's not in here. Look through everything, like under the bed. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I have clothes and totes, but I've looked all in on it. She's not here.
Chris on the verge of tears when making the report to police, prompting an immediate and thorough search for baby Kalia.
I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid.
Eventually, the baby was discovered not far from the parents' trailer in Chris's gym bag, wrapped in his clothes. An autopsy showed that the baby died of blunt force trauma to the head. Chris left town as soon as the baby was discovered, and it wasn't long after that that he was found too.
911, was that a severe emergency? That guy that his baby was found dead is in the Chevron on 36.
Chris and his girlfriend were arrested. Now, in court, the parents couldn't stand the abuse they inflicted on the child.
Tell me what's depicted in that photo.
Okay, all of these photos are just step by step showing how the body was received, and one of the sleeves was over the head and neck. The rest of it was just kind of wrapped around, and the baby was wearing this purple onesie that had writing on it as well as the diaper.
If you thought Chris's offenses were revolting, you won't believe how he behaved throughout the sessions. In a more twisted account of events, a psychologist described how Chris welcomed her during one of their sessions.
Which is something that prisoners are wearing when they're on suicide risk. And he wasn't wearing clothing under that. He had pulled up the turtle suit and taken out his penis and was masturbating.
Like I say, in front of her since she's the one accusing me.
But Chris maintained his innocence.
And it velcros, and it wasn't on properly, and it didn't fit properly because they've been used for so many years by so many different people, and I was not masturbating at all in front of her, period. The thing fell off when I stood up, and that was it. I mean, I got a lot to say. I got a lot to say, but I'm not going to be able to say half of it.
I don't know, because I don't know what you're going to say.
I'm innocent.
Judge John gave Chris the chance to say any last statements before the sentence was read out.
Things do not turn out the way you want them to turn out by saying, I wanted to testify that day, but my attorney would not allow me.
Sir, I feel like everything I could have said has already been said by myself in all interviews.
Eventually, the judge gave his sentence. McNabb was convicted on 8 counts, including malice murder.
You tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
if you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay. So they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay. On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On considering the death of another, I sentence you to 10 years of confinement consecutive of count one. You understand?
For her part, Courtney did not accept accountability for her actions.
Y'all know I didn't do this.
I had a conversation back.
We did.
I can tell you this on Wednesday. Remember?
Judge John also handed her a sentence.
On count one, I'm sentencing you to 30 years, with the first 15 years to be served in confinement in the state penitentiary, the remaining time on probation. On count three, I'm sentencing you to 10 years in confinement and run at the same time as count one.
Chris is still serving his sentence in jail, while Courtney's conviction has since been overturned in a 2023 decision. Which case shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments down below.